Can hear me well. So I have a new mic, and please let me know if you can hear me well. It should be 100 times better than what it was, and we will get into it. I've had quite a few requests for Sebastian Rogers, and although I had to pull back my energy, because with anything, if you give, and the energy given back is not on the same length or more, you can get depleted. And I knew that that was coming after like a couple of years, and with the issues of the platform and just their customer service being horrendous, it's just been very depleting. And then life. So if you like this, please do give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, leave an emoji. And Marcia, I'm going to try and drop you an email, or if you can drop me an email. I just want to raise something with you. Nothing to be a concern, but I just want to flag something on the membership. And yeah, so Sebastian Rogers, I've also had a new Patreon who's requested it, because I had a Patreon live maybe 2 weeks ago, and I said that I would have to pull back from the $12 tier quite a bit. Obviously, if suddenly 10 members come up, I can do the additional content. It's all about, you know, just that thumbs up really helps, sharing. And we will get into today's reading. I'm also wanting to do Gene Hackman, the lady who was in Dominican Republic, or I should say the student, because as soon as I got thumbnails on that, I haven't looked into it. I was like, this is going to have attention. It's like, I feel there's destiny that there's going to be some attention to this. If you think about people that go on holiday, something sus happens, or they drowned, etc. Although my thoughts on it is very much... I'm going to leave it in case you vote for the reading. So let me know. I know you want Sebastian Rogers. I will pull cards on that. I think the breakthrough that I got was going to happen in late Feb is probably the mother speaking. I'm not saying that's what I said. I predicted the mother speaking. No, I said there's going to be a breakthrough, and I do think that is a big breakthrough. I can't say that the timing for the reading is not right, because I was going to try and channel Sebastian, because I'm also closed off, but I feel like we can pull cards. I've got no idea what is going on. I know that from a comment that the mother did, you know, some interviews. I saw a 6.47 second interview. I think it's NSW Nashville. And it looks like it's been taken from a full-on interview, and they've done it very well. So they've put it in, do you know when they clip stuff so that it makes it look very well for the person? But there was something on that there's one word that a lot of you are going to be like, you know, there might have been a lot of lies, there might have been a lot of key things, but there's one word that stuck with me, and it was like, that's where the absolute lie is, not just based on my reading or channeling. If you've not seen any of the readings, I think I might have been one of the first to channel Sebastian. So Sebastian, Gene Hackman, the Dominican Republican lady. I don't know what's going on, honestly, in the world. I don't know what's going on YouTube, apart from I've been watching the Monica Cementelli trial. That's the only thing. And sometimes when life flies, you watch stuff just to navigate, right? So I think I might have a couple of questions that I need to check. Yeah, I just feel I need to fill my cup up, and but this is things that I love to do, because I think there's a lot of people that don't give a true, authentic voice on stuff, and a lot of readers copy other readers. And that it was hard for me to swallow, because they grow, yet they're copying other readers. And not only can I see that, see it like you all, but I can see it psychically. And yeah, so let's get into some of the predictions now. Some of them might have come true, although I've not seen any news apart from, like I said, about airports. I said about shipping, oil spillage. I think there was something in the North Sea, so we predicted that. If the channel grows, it might be helpful if I get someone that can help me clip stuff. But the way things will be shown psychically that I'm predicting things right, which will not always be correct and on point, is by your help, by sharing, by liking, by commenting, even if you don't have a comment. And I am going to try and focus on, apart from this, on the tarot readings with the intuitive psychic downloads as well as the cards. But obviously if a spirit comes, the other reading I wanted to do is Emily Pike. She's kind of a quiet soul, by the way. I think I can describe her. So those are the things, but I really want to put my energy where you want it. And I can get back to where I was, but it needs to be, some people have always supported, and you're the ones that kept me going. I cannot explain how resilient I've probably been. And there'll be some a-hole that comes and puts a time stamp that she starts the psychic predictions at here, but that had to be said. So hopefully the mic is a lot better, like 2,000 times better. I don't want to say yeah, it'll do. That's not going to be okay, because I bought a new mic and hopefully that's going to be good. So now let's go to my notes, because I've got notes on other downloads. I've even got royals in 2025. That's interesting. I can't even remember downloading that. I think I've done some woo-woo stuff. I've got some more here. Let's go to see what we've got. I've got Jean, some notes on Jean reading. So, okay. How are you all doing? I said in the psychic themes for 2025 that we will feel this I was going to say world comes to an end. This world goes fast. Because I said 2025 was going to be very fast. Now, crypto I see being very up and down this month. If you're thinking to pull out your money, if you're thinking to invest, it's very volatile, especially between, I'd say, the 16th, 17th onwards. Okay, so you're going to see a big thing around that. I was just getting the second download here. You're going to see dips and ups about that. It's quite volatile at the moment. So, but I'm going to keep it like that. I was going to pull cards, but we're going to keep it like that. I do think that there's going to be an earthquake, quite a big one, but I can't tell you when. I think I don't think it's 10 years away. It's going to be like in the Pacific area. And I think it's going to be a plate shift in the earth, and it could be even within water. Because for me, I said water and fire are very big. So fire in the airport, you know, I've mentioned the airports, I've mentioned issues that will happen. I think Heathrow, there's something about Heathrow's just had a fire. I wonder if that's, I mean, we could pull cards on that. If you want me to pull cards on whatever next major reading I do, we can do. I mean, let's see if there's any sus to that fire, and because I don't know what I'm asking, because I don't know about it much. So let's just see. Now I've got a mic, I can't like this. I don't want to. Okay. strong cards here. Amazing. Look at this. All to do with emotion, right? Which is very, very water and emotion. Was it, I've asked if it's an accident or natural. Obviously it wasn't natural, but what I mean is nobody lit the fire, right? And we get a yes here. We get a yes. Now I ask if, there was anyone involved in creating, like making it sus, and we get be patient for the time being. But there's something around someone's upheaval of emotions here. I don't think that is going to go far in terms of finding that it was done in a hostile, not hostile, but like someone intentionally did that fire. I'm not getting that. However, we could have someone who has a Sagittarius placement. I think what we might get is some like thing about someone who's quite young, who's a trainee or young in their profession, not like a senior in their profession, that could have been involved, wasn't patient with something and its timing, that could have led to maybe, let's say, a spark, but not the full fire. Okay, so that's what we've got there. I hate Heathrow Airport. Okay, I also was seeing, like, I don't know if this is possible, like Italy, there could be some movement, or there's some volcanic movement around Italy. I don't know if they've got volcanoes, so that's something else. Spirit's just reminding me how I said last year the NHS will change. It will be totally different, and they'll be making a lot of stuff private. They will change it if it's not, it won't be as we know it as NHS. And I think that is being spoken about now, but you can go back and check last year and last year's readings. I've said it multiple times. I'm sure those of you that are up to date. I also mentioned in the themes about shipping, trade, oil tank and still oil spillages, high tides and sea. Please be careful. The energy is very, very amped for this, and this relates to one of the readings that I want to see what cards we get, because I can tell you psychically what I get. You know, I mentioned about water and fire in our readings, and we need to connect to the earth a lot more. So even the earthquakes, like for example, I was getting something about Australia or New Zealand, and it might be an earthquake, but it's actually in the sea. It's began from the sea. So I don't know when that's coming or if that's actually passed, but it felt like it was in March time. And I'm doing this in March, but I was going to do it right at the beginning of March. So we're sharing that. If you recall in one of my last readings, and this could relate to the oil spillage and tanker and stuff, I mentioned about seeing a huge formation of like thick yellow cloud that could be like fire, factory fire, something like that, like a massive gas cloud. That is still a bit in the frame, although I think there was a validation on that, but I see it again now. Whether that it was the shipping, whether there's something else, I do think there's going to be a lot more with fire. I also think with your airplanes, especially in the US, again, we've mentioned about the aerospace being very dominant, but it's not as bad as like the end of January and most of Feb, right? The risk of the tragedies lowered, right? But forget the upped energy between now and, let's say, the first few days of April. Okay, so that it's upping in sort of disastrous energy. I had a question, Australia. I've put here Australia is something. Is there some China? something with China. I don't know why I see like Australia can see something with China, and I don't know if that means that they've seen or spotted China in the sea or what it is. There's something there, but I just feel someone's asking or worried, could this be an invasion? But I don't think they will. If it is, I don't think China will look to invade Australia. I should have put my glasses on for my notes. That it seems far away. Can someone, if you are from Australia, I thought I had a card drop, but I can't see it and it couldn't have gone far. Can you please tell me if that is valid? Okay, so I don't know what is happening. I definitely see that they're not happy about something, and I feel like the Australians feel a bit captive because they're worried about this. But it seems like they will be turning away and going. There's a party that's also not happy, so I wonder if there's been talks about this. I've got no idea what this is, but there's so much energy about land and greed, you know, land, earth, let's grab this land, let's grab that land. And yeah, so I'm talking about in the world, right? But no, I don't think that is going to lead to an invasion if there is something correct in that. Now, I did mention I've got here a plane or a collision or a sub-collision that I'd mentioned in part 1, and I think there was something that came up recently. I put it that I see something for on March as well, onwards, right? These are not just March and then it expires. Let's pull some cards on Ukraine. Ukraine, I actually feel that I was looking at, is there a town or an area called Kryner? I don't know if I've got that right, but I was trying to look. There's one area in Ukraine that Russia really wants to grab hold of. Disclaimer, this is for entertainment purposes only. Please use your own fact finding. This is for entertainment purposes only. So, I just want to put this higher just in case. Yeah, I just feel like Ukraine's future, and I'm going to dive into this. I've got another download for that. There is going to be tense times for Ukraine, but also Russia is going to have a bit of something that doesn't go their way. So let's just pull cards on the Ukraine. Yeah, see, it's challenging, and this was in a sort of challenging position. The future of Ukraine is just not clear at this moment in time. There is a potential for success, but at the moment, in this near future, it looks like there's still going to be ongoing, unfortunately, loss of human life, right? And I also have a download that I think I'm going to get to it later, that there could be a push out of the current leadership, right? Something happens in a very abrupt way in terms of their leadership. At the moment, something in terms of their leadership, the way they want something to go is not going in that direction. I also see that as opposed to being seen as a leader, the person is being seen as someone who is fighting for his people, but in comparison to the leaders of the world, he is very much for his people, not like the other leaders of the world. But how can I say this? He's not playing it right. That's what I'm seeing. Okay. I think countries might end up stop sending money poured into it. And I don't think Russia is going to give up on that. I don't know if it's Crimea or there's one town in particular, okay, they feel very stubborn on. So it can drag out. It needs negotiation. But obviously there's going to be questions around morals of these negotiations. You know, there's going to be big moral questions. Because usually negotiations are like, if you do this, then we'll give you this. And they're not like the best morally negotiated outcomes or agreements. Let me just check the camera. Okay. So I do think that we've got that going on. The UK, well, I don't think we can even protect our own border from, you know, what's coming in from the Channel. And I see especially between Dover and France. Now, I need to look at the map again, but I know where Dover is, kind of. And then France. So, you know, if you can't even protect your border from that, well, that's just not good, is it? I think, you know, I've mentioned before about rare earth minerals, and I could see like illuminated liquid, and I do think that that is something that leaders are going to be looking to try and find in different lands. And I think that is a focus that is going to come up a lot. I also see Iceland coming through. The BRICS alliance, Turkey is very, very important in terms of BRICS right now, in terms of a lot to do with what they might be doing, in terms of Russia and Ukraine's future. Turkey is will be playing, if not already, a huge role in whatever is going to be happening. I see that. China, their economy, I feel like there's property issues. It could be in terms of economic and the demand. So internally they have those issues, but obviously externally they've got a very powerful world grasp economically, and I see that continuing for the time being. Let's go on to what else. This is Sudikasha. This is the Dominican lady. NHS, I've mentioned it before, and here again. The US, April might have a few, from now and in April, there might be a few tense dates for the US. And I think you need to be careful in terms of an attack. Maybe in the next 5 years, especially we need to be careful around June time. This is not any fear factoring. I don't think it's going to be a mass war or something like that. But there's very much tense energy. I also saw that Trump is trying to sign or agree to something that will give him extreme power. I'm not just talking about power he has at the moment, but extreme power. And I can just see a judge being like, whoa, wait a minute. So I don't know what that ties in. It could tie in with, you know, something to do with heads up on this attack or something like that, or defense for the country, or the country being able to, I don't know why I'm getting alienate. Then we've got aircraft again, the future and travel, space, cosmos, which I've mentioned. Ukraine's fate post-Trump is, he's going to hold back, but I think in the end he's going to come round. I think NATO, like I said, BRICS a little. It's actually NATO. Turkey has a big play in NATO. NATO's continuation, not so much the other thing that I said. A little bit BRICS, but NATO. That's it. They have a big play on whether NATO will continue, and also there might be challenges around the 28th, 29th of March for Ukraine, which is really going to bring up the cards that I showed in terms of the apparent suffering and challenges that are ongoing. But I do think there could be a change in leadership that's quite abrupt between now and the beginning of 2026. So we have to look out for that. Like I mentioned, floods, seas are very, just be careful out at seas, tsunamis, there's karmic energy as well, you know. And I think we're also moving away from sort of the standard, I've mentioned this before, religion in terms of like, you should do this as this. We're starting to understand, yes, I am a Christian, yes, I am a Muslim, but I know that this is what I should be doing in terms of like this way of living, etc. But I also understand that, you know, serving humanity all year round, as opposed to serving humanity at odd times when I feel to be kind and doing the mandatory of the religion, makes more sense to me. So, you know, we're going to see fizzled out sort of the man book religion kind of energy. And that's nothing to do with God, right? It's nothing to do with God. So I mentioned also last year we're going to have ongoing eruption of child cases, SA cases, that sort of stuff coming to light. And I think, you know, Emily Pike is an example. I dare say we're going to have, can you remember Madeleine Soto's case? I wonder if anything else has come out about that. But surely he should be up for a court probably this year. It's bad, they shouldn't really delay it, should they? I presume he's up for 2 hearings. Something I wanted to say on that. And Jen, can you remember how I said in one of my readings, Jen's being kept where she can't be accessed? Anyway, we'll do that separately. There's going to be a continued energy, I don't know if you can feel it, of feeling the old world disorder crumbling and yearning for something new. It's that gap, like, and it's kind of like a continued feeling of that. The dream state, look at your dream state. You could be having a lot of like downloads during that time. And it could be your dream state even while you're, you know, you're awake, but you're kind of like, you're in the old and you're feeling like you're becoming who you're already becoming, or your life is moving in some certain way. It's kind of like the void energy. I still feel that kind of energy there. I've mentioned that we need to be careful of water and poison and pollution, poisoning, and also food poisoning. I feel we're going to have a lot more cases around that. We're going to have pharma and drug news as well. I'd say between the 26th and 30th of March, give it a day or two, watch the tariffs, watch the stock banks market, the crypto rates, and you'll see what I mean about the up fluctuation. Now, I know that a lot of astrologists are saying about the partial solar eclipse. That lunar eclipse, by the way, was an absolute gut punch. I still have it in my gut. But I feel like it's going to be very close to Earth, and not only visible, but it's energy that is given off. So if you're into watching that or looking at that, you can see it. I mean, maybe not at the time of the exact solar, but later in the evening. It's very close. The energy is very close. I'm not sure if my eyesight is getting worse or what's happening at the moment. I've mentioned before, and I still see it. You know how I've mentioned last year, I think there's going to be a lot of AI and things that are going to help eat the pollution and the water beds of the sea, the oceans, etc. I still see that, and I see even like algae that might be able to eat this harmful elements of plastic in the sea to clean the sea, which is amazing, if that's what it feeds off. So that's lovely. Something that I try to focus on, which is very difficult, we need to focus on love and the timeline of love and humanity, and that will grow. All right, there's a lot of us that still will be focused on like the woo-woo thumbnails and the conspiracies and the news and the titles that create fear and really want you to push on those videos, content, etc. So but trust is needed on the love timelines, and that's why it can be very difficult. I think the world at the moment is very difficult, even on the job market in various countries. Let me know in your country if it is very difficult. And I'm talking about professional, experienced, top tier people. And you sit and you see amateurs in roles. It's kind of like some people have blocked doors. The UK, I think in summertime and at different days, it's going to be like an extreme hot day, right? Extreme hot day where you feel like it's fire. And then the next day it'll be cloudy or, cloudy, and then it will need to rain where it releases. So there's going to be extreme weather overall in different countries. We will going to hear about extremity, and that can also tie in with people cases. But I do think that Iran went quiet, but I think we're going to see news on Iran soon. I have mentioned Trump and his safety, and I think this year, all year, Trump or someone in his cabinet is going to have a difficulty in terms of their flights. I don't necessarily mean that I'm predicting a flight with DT or Duck going down an ASS nation happening in a flight or something like that. But in the minor, it's going to be, do you know when you're trying to book flights, it's very ad hoc, they're always late. For example, I've had this with trains recently. Absolutely ridiculous, the trains in the UK at the moment. Absolutely ridiculous. Like you could have got on a flight and gone from the UK to Dubai or something like that. The timing and what they're doing and the excuses is just, I don't know, it's ridiculous. But yeah, someone, and we might hear about it. Do you know when randomly someone does an interview and they're like, yeah, that flight was such a hassle trying to arrive here, or there was turbulence. And that's going to be your clue that all year round they'll have issues with flights. And I see it being Duck or someone in his administration. I do think that JF Kennedy, Robert Jr., RF Kennedy is going to be disclosing a bit on the sea and what was happening there. The sea, not the sea that we swim in, the sea virus. And I think he might also disclose, I don't know if it's true, we'll have to pull cards. Let me know if this comes forward, we'll pull cards on maybe the opposite administration covering some things where there didn't need to be so much people control or untested elements on that. Again, please, the sea, the ocean, swept away energy, floods, the energy around the 3rd week, and at the moment we could have felt like a lot of like wanting energy dip, confusion, escapism, right? So some of us might have felt like we need an extra wine or eating more or just doing things to escape, but we might feel that energy shift at the end of March. So let me know if that's one of you. I did get something about there's going to be a big twist on something to do with the family, royal family or member, a royal member. So I do think that that is going to come forward, and it's going to be, again, you know, like in the news. I don't know what's happening with the royal family. If you want a royal family reading, please do let me know. I don't even know what's happening with the Sussex, but yeah, so let me know on that. I think I did read a comment saying, can we have a reading on the Sussex? So if you're one of them and someone puts a comment on the reading that we want, please just press like, so then we know like which one is next, because I would like to come back fully if you're enjoying the content on the platform. Okay, so I think I've got a few more, and I'm just going to go through them. I've got here on the 5th of March, I wrote, there's still something about not disclosing the full Epstein list, and the reason they're not doing that is because there's certain connections that they don't want us to know about. So even if we think the whole list is shown, you might get something that's redacted, or they might show a whole list and there's a page missing because there's a lot of connections and they don't want us to know about that at the moment. There is, I want to pull, can you remember I said about the Pope? Now, I do feel the Pope between now and I want to say the 20th, give it a couple of days, 22nd of April, there are challenging days for him. Let's just pull some cards. The Pope now until the sort of this month. And there was a... So look, I mean, I think I have the timeline right, but this is a major transformation. So I don't like to say about people's expiry. I also have difficulty in saying about people's guilt, but let me say something. I've never done a reading on Lucy Letby or Brian Coburg. I have done recently on Brian Coburg. But I've said in past predictions and readings about Brian Coburg, and yeah, I had a couple of comments. It'd be interesting to see what you get if you do a reading on him separately. This was last year, and I've always said that I see him as a panting wolf, full of adrenaline, and there's blood coming down. And do you know how a wolf in the cold, like from your mouth, that, you know, the coldness, the warmth of your mouth in the cold, you can see it, right? But it's not from the cold, it's from the adrenaline and the panting. I always see that. But why am I've mentioned those two? I probably need to pull cards on Lucy Letby, but I think we need to stop saying people are innocent and people getting caught up on that, right? Yeah, stop with some bullshit. So I think watch this space between now and there's challenging days for him between now and Easter, 20th, 22nd. Right, so it came out again. Okay, there's going to be some truths around King Charles coming out, right? I wonder if he's going to be taking up some new projects, okay? And he's going to be looking very healthy on something. There's some communication on him that's going to be coming out, all right? I want to pull more cards because there's more to this. Seeing a Spirit brought it through, but I'm going to leave it to the reading. Remember, I've always said Charles wants William to be comfortable before he says, here you go, right? Okay. I do think there's going to be more allies coming forward for Ukraine, despite maybe what they had. I believe they had a meeting with Trump and it went all wrong, didn't it? Because I saw a body language analysis of 4 minutes. Boy, Duck was so pissed off. Oh my God. Okay, so there's going to be more alliances coming forward for Ukraine. The US, if they haven't already, will be retracting their support. There's going to be more ceasefire talks, and even the US pausing on the reconciliation with Ukraine is going to cause loss for Ukraine, especially time-wise. And it looked, you know, we got those cards, and we know time is of essence in these situations. So the cards we pulled earlier really match this as well, as consequences and how the leadership is looking. I do think, and some people might disagree with me, there was a bit of bullying, a bit of a bully kind of thing. And it just, you know, something pissed someone off and it went worse. But because one side was in a lot more dominating, powerful situation, didn't need the help, I think there was a bit of bullying that you didn't need to flex so many biceps if you got it. But yeah, so we know time is of essence. So there is a collapsing. But I do think the US will come on board, especially when dominating European countries and allies start to come more and more forward. And again, I mentioned Turkey being so important to NATO and the continuation of NATO. I'll do a further reading on that because I find it interesting, especially when I don't really understand all these dynamics. I think there's a lot of moving parts, like tariffs, that will be causing friction, and actually the US reconciling with some countries. Because there's not more growth, and there's, you know, the growth and enemies and standoffs need to kind of stop. So I think that's something to watch. Something was coming through to me about Greece, and it's something positive actually. So I don't know if people want to move to Greece. There's a bit of their economy has been quite challenging, hasn't it? So there's some positivity that happens within Greece. It's nothing to do with the US. China, I had a question, would China be ready for war on the US? And my answer was going to be yes, and we get it, right? But I don't think they're going to do that, okay? I think most countries are always guarded and ready, aren't they? If they've got the money and the resources. Markets are going to continue to be volatile, so if you can't afford to lose during this time, don't invest. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. Please seek financial advice if you are looking to invest. Prioritize outside money. Support your local businesses. Support local people. Support people that are, you know, smaller, trying to grow, etc. You know, this could also include the individual farmers, smaller voices in the government. With the farming, by the way, I don't think the larger agricultural farmers are going to last as long as the smaller farmers, especially in the US and the UK. The reason being is because we're changing, and so the larger agricultural farmers, they're not needed as much because there's a lot of trade, and if they don't change, they will end up dissolving. Local farmers are producing a lot smaller stuff, and they will rely on their community and local boroughs, local areas. I think state is quite big, local cities, communities, whereas the agriculture are focusing more on the international, and that is not going to be, it's not going to be the profit anymore. They have to change. So this is something that I rarely see, okay? Because it's the way of lifestyle is changed, you know. And I don't just, like I said, it's for the US and the UK that I think there's a major, you know, like the industrial, agricultural, international, I don't think that they're going to last if they don't change their way. But smaller farms will, and we need to sort of support them. I don't know why I also get that Bulgaria is also trying to support its farmers, especially cattle farm. I don't know if they've had an issue with that recently, but there's certain countries in Europe as well. Let me just check this is recording. Okay. You'll see this first on Patreon to access anytime shortly after, a few hours on YouTube for everyone as well. I'm going to try and get it done straight away. It can take a bit of time, but I'm hoping to. I might need to change the thumbnail a bit later to something fancy, so I hope you don't just base it on fanciness of thumbnail. The US, something positive in terms of taxes, but I think inflation may be the negative aspect. I think inflation may begin to break the economy, but I see if you support the local businesses rather than the larger corporations, and some people might start to grow their own stuff, support each other in communities. This is for the US, the UK, wherever you live. It's going to be a good thing to help with the economy and the inflation as well. But the US, I see something positive in terms of your tax, but the inflation, there could be a bit of negativity around that. I'll go into that a bit later in the next one. I don't know why I'm talking about corporations. Luigi is coming through here, and he's reminding me of the channeling I did where I was just asking a question, well, McDonald's is a large corporation, and he mentioned about the difference of how they treat their employees. So in that channeling, I don't know if I mentioned it, but one of the things he was saying that even in McDonald's, if the insurance is not covering something, they would send out a message or a rally to see if they could cover someone's exceptional urgency critical case like organ or something. So I was just asked to add that. I think, let me ask this. So what I understand, it must be that some government jobs were cut in the US. I think I mentioned this in the last prediction, so I don't know if it is something true. Will government jobs be reinstated? Or is the question, let's see. I get a yes, okay, some in terms of a new reform, a new framework. Not all, some of them, okay, so that's positive. But you're going to see some positions in airlines being made redundant and less staff. I get airlines again, right? Less staff, you know, taking away from redundant the airlines, okay. I've got here on Jan and Feb 26, I mentioned about the aerospace craft collision crash that I'd seen. So, okay. There's something coming through in terms of poultry, okay, in some countries, and probably fish may be contaminated, and also coming forward in terms of whether it's pulling back from your supermarkets, or we hear about a large corporation, contamination of a process that increases, and whether it's said or not, it happens, which could also tie in with some digestive issue increases. If not separately, I think there's been in March, there might have been some increase in digestive issues, higher rates at the GPs and hospitals. Obviously, we don't have those figures, but I got that coming through. Again, earth and sea, New Zealand, Aussie, take place an earthquake, but is sea rooted. I think the energy of mass vaccination is falling away in many countries. Oil rigs and shipping, I've mentioned that. International border conflict around the seas, I see that very, very big and quite risky. The other thing that I saw was maybe a prison escape or escapees somewhere. I do think that there's going to be some news about maybe a healthcare CEO or a legal action or a higher up in someone in healthcare or higher ups, but they are involved or invested in pharma, whether we know it or not, or in drugs or in alcohol branding. And I remember when I did the Jay-Z and Beyonce read, I was like, do they own a brand of alcohol? That's separate, but there could be something around them. Michael Jackson's just coming through to me for some reason to channel. I'm going to have to leave it for a bit later. I've never channeled him actually. I think there's going to be a workforce shortage issue, all right, in some labour areas, which is going to cause issues. And there's going to be another celeb exposure scandal, and I mean big, okay? I see that very clearly. Now, the UK, just very quickly, do we have more time? Yeah, hopefully. Okay. Couple of things I wanted to mention on the UK is that the UK will continue to lead on focusing on international affairs. I see that. There's something about the local councils coming to light, or we hear more about them, or taking decisions or actions, or maybe in your local councils you start hearing about them, okay? I think later in this year, and I'll pull cards in a separate reading, I think the UK is going to hit lockerheads on international affairs, and there's going to be challenges. Obviously, this is led by Keir Starmer. And then I've got here the US, Trump requesting a new law. That law is like an agreement that's going to make him very powerful, but the judge doesn't approve straight away. And is something that could, it ties in with like a homeland attack, or a homeland attack on or from. Okay, so I mentioned that a bit earlier. So this is not all the UK. Sorry, I hope no one switched off. Please tell me you didn't switch off. I've mentioned the end of April. There could be a huge impact on the war in Ukraine. But something is not going well for Russia. Russia's leadership, Russia's government in this. There's going to be devastation energy, all right? And this could be weather. We need to just be careful. There is the high risk of assassination. We've mentioned those dates in prior readings. I think Great Britain, we have to be careful of enemies, and April end may show us signs of who they are, how, and a little bit of the why. Okay, so let's look out for that. I mean, Keir is definitely in the news because of this NHS thing. And I'm not really sure how he's going to be doing in April, right? I need to pull cards on that. So again, whatever you want in the next psychic predictions, but I do think there's some challenges. Yeah, I'm not sure about his April. So we have to look into that. So everyone, if you enjoyed this, please do like, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Stay blessed and bye for now.